Hello, ladies and gentlemen. Today, we are, of course, going to give you a first hand impression of the new and much awaited Maruti Suzuki Grand Vitara. Now, this is going to be a little different from the usual review videos that you see on our channel or on our website because we don't have a car to show you. We can't show you the car in action because we got a chance to drive the Grand Vitara recently during a visit to the R&D center of Maruti Suzuki in Rohtak. Of course, we were not allowed to carry our cell phones or any camera equipment, so we do not have the footage. We only have some images that have been given to us by the company, but we got a short time with all three versions. The strong hybrid, which is of course the one that is the most interesting one and the most talked about right now. We also drove the all-wheel drive version and the mild hybrid with an automatic transmission. So, coming to the question of how is the Grand Vitara? Well, first of all, let me tell you in terms of design, the Grand Vitara definitely is a big looking SUV. It is not a small SUV in terms of dimensions. It is a fairly large SUV and it actually looks bigger than its dimensions. And I'm sure that is something that a lot of buyers in India will like. It looks like a big SUV. In fact, to my mind, the Grand Vitara is probably the biggest looking SUV in its segment. So this is something that a lot of buyers will appreciate because it's got that typical big car, big SUV look. And otherwise, also if you look at the design, the sleek LED TRLs, the overall front end, the tastefully done chrome on the grille, even the side profile, it's got a very upright stance, and that really helps the SUV design and the character. It looks like a very, an old school but a muscular SUV. At the rear, also the tail lamp treatment is fabulous. It looks sleek and modern. So it's a modern looking SUV, but it retains that proper SUV look that a lot of Indian buyers love. Moving to the cabin of the Grand Vitara, I think the kind of expectations you have from the vehicle once you look at the nice exterior design, well, the cabin lives up to those expectations. It's a very nicely laid out cabin. It has a nice combination of materials and colors. Of course, it will depend on the variant you're choosing, and there will be some differences depending on the variant. So even things like the color of the push start ignition button, it will be different. I mean, on a strong hybrid version it will be blue in color with a metallic surround, but on the other versions it will be normal black colored button. Even the way the seats are, for example, in the strong hybrid version you get ventilated seats which have a very nice and premium looking quilted pattern. Really looks expensive. And in the other versions that we drove, the all-wheel drive with a manual transmission and the mild hybrid version with a six-speed automatic transmission, those had a different seat material. And similarly, even the dashboard inserts, the color will vary depending on the variant you choose. Even the instrument cluster is different. The strong hybrid gets a fully digital, nice, swanky looking instrument cluster. The other variants will get an instrument cluster that we're used to seeing on, say, the XL6, but a slightly redesigned version, I would say, a little bit sharper and more expensive looking one. So, in terms of cabin layout, I think the Grand Vitara hits the right spots. The front seats are brilliant. They offer good comfort. The ventilation system works well. One good thing about the seat ventilation system is that it's not noisy. It does not make too much of a sound. It provides quick cooling. So that goes well with the premium positioning of the SUV. If you look at the overall, the build quality, the material quality, all of that too looks and feels premium. All the touch points in the car feel good to touch. And beyond that, even the ergonomics are well sorted, the visibility is good, the steering wheel is nice and chunky to hold, the steering mounted controls do their job well. So in that respect, I think it's a nice cabin that the Grand Vitara offers. Of course, feature loaded, wireless charging, climate control. It gets a nice touchscreen infotainment system similar to the one that we've seen in the Leno, but of course the displays inside will be different, especially in the case of the strong hybrid, where you'll have an additional display also, which will show you the power when it's coming in from the battery, going back to the battery when the engine's kicking in, all of that. So you'll also have a panoramic sunroof. So add all of these things, and what you get is a spacious, comfortable, luxurious, and a nicely stacked up cabin. And coming to the most important part, the driving part. Well, we first drove the strong hybrid. This is the one that gets a 1.5 liter petrol engine, but with the Atkinson cycle. So while that reduces the power, what it does is it increases the fuel efficiency. I mean, that's as to put it into very simple terms, and to make up the loss in power, there is the electric motor. So the combined output from the entire system is about 115 PS, and the beauty of the system is the fact that the battery and the motor can power the vehicle on electric power alone. Of course, not for long distances, but for short distances. And it's a self-charging battery, so every time you brake or you're coasting, or when you're running, when you're just driving along, the battery, as and when possible, will get juiced up, and as and when required, it will again deploy that power to give you more power as well as higher fuel efficiency. And in terms of how the system works, I think it works brilliantly. The switch between the engine and the motor, the time the engine comes in or goes off, it's so seamless, and the only way you can make it out is by the sound of the engine. But beyond that, there's no telling, there's no difference in your driving experience that you can suddenly notice that, oh, the engine's kicked in. That sort of thing does not happen as long as you're driving gently. I think when you start off the engine, you start on electric power, and if you're accelerating in a very gentle manner and the battery has enough charge, you can drive on electric only mode. If more power is required, of course, the engine will kick in. You can also select an EV only mode that will work up to speeds of 50 kilometers per hour. Beyond that, the engine will automatically kick in. And what this system is doing is it's constantly working together. The engine and the motor are working together to provide the best possible efficiency at any given point of time, and it shows. The company claims close to 28 kilometers to a liter, while on the test track we were not able to test the fuel efficiency completely, but without really putting in any major effort to extract fuel efficiency, I was very easily able to get a system indicated almost 30 kilometers to a liter fuel efficiency number. So yes, it should prove to be a pretty fuel efficient vehicle, and that should give it an edge over its diesel rivals, because now this will be priced pretty close to or maybe under the diesel rivals that come with the top features, or the top variants. But you will not have to pay the premium for a diesel, but will get a significantly higher fuel efficiency. So that's going to be the USP or the trump card for the strong hybrid Grand Vitara. The all-wheel drive system again works well. The best of my knowledge, it will be offered only with a five-speed manual gearbox. That is a sort of a limitation for me, because for anyone who's buying the all-wheel drive is making more of a heart over mind decision, and would be willing to pay a bit more for the convenience of an automatic transmission. So, but right now you can only get it with the manual. So I'm told. I hope that this changes soon, and Maruti will offer even an automatic transmission with the all-wheel drive. But for now, you can get it with the manual. Works well. It's the most fun to drive version out of all three, and the handling is great. The grip felt very nice around the track. Of course, we were not able to go off road, but it is a globally proven system. So I think again off-road capability shouldn't be a problem for it. And the six-speed automatic variant with the mild hybrid engine again works well. It's got paddle shifters. It's very smooth and refined vehicle to drive. It's got linear acceleration. We were able to touch about 135 on the test track, and still the vehicle did not feel out of its breath. Felt pretty comfortable. So yes, in terms of city or highway driving performance, the Grand Vitara, irrespective of what version you choose, should offer you good performance. Of course, the strong hybrid will be for those looking for more fuel efficiency and lower emissions. It'll be the least fun to drive of all variants because there's the CVT in this combination, and it does exhibit some rubber band effect when you push the engine hard, when you push the entire powertrain hard. But beyond that, the other two versions are fairly fun to drive as well. And I just find it a bit confusing that the all-wheel drive is not being offered with an automatic gearbox. So hopefully that will be sorted out soon. But beyond that, I think the Grand Vitara is an excellent package. Like I said, it looks good. It's got a great cabin. It's got spacious interior, good features, drives well, and offers good fuel efficiency. And going by the track record of Maruti Suzuki, it should be priced competitively as well, which will make it quite a bothersome vehicle for the rivals. But yeah, I think this is just another a big success in the making for Maruti Suzuki. And because the vehicle looks right, is so nice to drive, is so fuel efficient, and has so many good features, so many first time features for Maruti Suzuki itself. I think it just stacks up so nicely against its competition that if priced well, I think the Grand Vitara will not only sell well and allow Maruti Suzuki to regain lost ground in the SUV space, but we could very soon see the Grand Vitara moving on to the number one spot in its segment, and all this without having a diesel engine. It is that good.